everyone, and welcome to my podcast. This is Ann P. of Fiber, Floss, and Fiction, and today is Monday, the 30th of November, 2020. I hope everybody's doing well, and if you're here in the United States, had a good Thanksgiving. We had a very quiet Thanksgiving. Normally my parents come from the East Coast, but obviously they were not doing that this year. And New Mexico's back in crazy amounts of restrictions. We've had a huge spike. I think we're like 4th or 5th in the nation for new cases. We did great with the first surge, but now not so much. So lots of new cases here, and we are just trying to keep our heads down and go out as little as possible. So just very quiet weekend. My husband and I, he took some extra days off of work. And we are in the middle of remodeling our kitchen. So he worked on building cabinetry for us this weekend. It's an ongoing project, and if you've ever remodeled your kitchen, you know what a pain in the neck it is to do. Before he went back to school, he worked for like a custom cabinet shop and custom furniture build. So they're going to be beautiful when they're done, but you know, it's just him and he's doing it on his off time. So eventually it will get there. So we just puttered around the house and did house related stuff and had a nice dinner on Thursday, but back to work this week, and I wanted to try to get a podcast in here before the end of the month, which is today. So if you are new, welcome. I hope that you find a reason to subscribe and come back and visit me again. And of course, if you're one of my longtime or regular viewers, welcome, and glad to have you back as always. So my usual 3 things, we're going to talk about knitting, and I have a little bit of spinning today, and then books and reading, and then cross stitch. And I'm hoping to try to keep this under 45 minutes. So let's get started. First up, let's talk the Handspun. This is my finished spin of a merino cashmere silk blend roving. The colorway is Waits, W-A-I-T-S, named after the musician. The original roving was from Funky Carolina, and it's this great kind of forest green blend of some khaki and chestnut brown and sage green, dark green, kind of all the colors in between. So I spun this up. This was a small braid because it was a luxury roving that she sent as one of her club rovings. So it was only 3 ounces to begin with, but I spun 329 yards of a 2-ply, so it came out like sock yarn weight, fingering weight. I love it. I think it's going to be beautiful used in something, but I don't know what that something is yet. Probably a cowl or something like that, because 329 yards is enough to do a cowl, and I think the cashmere component to it will make it beautiful to wear next to your skin. So that one's done. I'm still working on, I finished the singles of the next thing that I'm spinning, but need to ply it, and so hopefully we'll have that to show you next time we talk. I also have an FO, using up some of my DK weight yarn scraps. This is the Kodiak cowl, and I will put the link to this and the other patterns that I talk about for their Ravelry pattern page down below in the description box. So 2-color brioche, so it is kind of reversible. I mean, it's not a matchy-matchy, but that's the quote wrong side, and this is the right side, so depending on which you liked, you could wear it either way. Super, super stretchy, as brioche is, and I used up 2 skeins of felted tweed, Rowan's felted tweed, which is a DK weight. There aren't really color names, they're color numbers. So I have scraps of this left from a project that I designed 5 years ago, something like that. It's a men's sweater, So just trying to get stuff out of the stash bins, and this was one of the things. And happy to have that done. Super squishy, Squish-A-Vision, and very warm because it's a wool alpaca blend. So it's nice and soft. It's got some fun little tweety bits to it. And that will go away in the gift box, giveaway box. So I'm still working on a sample sweater. I'm almost done. I was a little bit worried about running out of yarn, so I knit the body down to, it's a top-down yoke sweater. I knit the body down to where I'm ready to put the ribbing on. And then I stopped and I did the sleeves, and I know I'm gonna have plenty of yarn now, but I have basically from here down to the cuff on the second sleeve left to finish, which I'm hoping to do tonight and tomorrow at the latest, and then I can put the ribbing on the sweater body, and then it will be done. It'll be ready to get photographs and all that good stuff. In the time of COVID, I have had to resort to some different approaches. I'm really not able to go out and meet people in public places and have a model. So I have been shooting most of my finished pattern photos just on a mannequin, but I really think garments benefit from having a body inside them. So one of my models who loves my knitwear and knitted things, she was looking for a Christmas present for her sister. And when I told her, you know, about how much that would cost, she was like, oh, well, okay, maybe next year after I'm back at work. So I had finished the Titania shawl, which I'll talk about in a minute, and she asked if, and she had mentioned how much her sister would really love that. So I'm trading her the finished shawl to do some modeling for me, and so that sweater will eventually go down to Albuquerque, and she will get photos for me and then send it back. So got to be a little bit creative with the creativeness. So I did also finish Titania's shawl, and I've already sent it on to her. So before it went in the mail, I filmed a very short little video just showing you the finished piece and what it looks like. I think it came out beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that clip here, and then I will be right back. Hey everyone, I wanted to do a quick video for you showing off the Titania shawl that I just finished. I've promised it to a friend as a gift, and so I wanted to get that sent off to her, but wanted to show it to you guys real quick before I did that. So you can see where I've added the beads in these center motifs here. Again, those are those crystal silver lined size 8 beads, and you can see from the light breeze we've got going today, it's super airy. Let me turn it around and I'll show it to you from the back, so you can see how that nice kind of scooped half crescent shape sits across the back. And I think I can get most of it within the video, but just so you can see a larger portion of the lace there. So yeah, it's definitely super lightweight, and I think very pretty in this kind of inky blue black color. And you can see how much it really opened up once I blocked it. Sorry, we've got construction going on across the street. So yeah, so there's my finished Titania shawl, and super happy to have that one finished. Took about 700 yards, and got another gain out of stash. Back to the video. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing that finished piece, and like I said, it is off to be gifted. So I didn't knit it with any specific, you know, end point in mind, so I'm really happy that it's off to her and her sister to enjoy for the holidays. So the other thing that I am working on is my polygon blanket, which I have been having so much fun with. I have this stack of my greens, blues, purples, and a couple of neutrals. left to seam together. So I have about half of it done and half of it left. Here's where it is currently in the seaming process. So you can see I've got kind of all of the reds, oranges, pinks, yellows, beginning of the yellow greens done. And I think this is going to be just really fun. I love all the colors. When I'm finished getting everything seamed together, there will be a kind of off-white, creamy white border around the edges. So I will still have that to pick up and knit, but definitely finishing up. This is going to be a nice kind of just lap-sized Afghan. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Dutch yarn company that I got these little DK minis from, because I won't get it right, but that's okay. I will put a link to the package. They sell a sampler pack of these plus some other colors, and it's enough to make the entire blanket out of that. So I will include that in the description box below. Amazon carries it, but I bought it from an online yarn store. So my plan is to finish seaming this up, adding the rest of those hexagons to it and working on the border, and then getting the long sleeve sweater done. I have kind of a wild hair that I might like to try to get a DK weight sweater knit over the month of December. 2021 is going to be one of my goals, is garments, knitted garments out of stash. So that would be a great way to kick it off, and I could maybe knit through a sweater lot and have it to wear for the holidays at the end of the month and into early 2021. But anyway, we'll see if that's how far I get, and I'll let you know. I'm kind of coming to the end of a lot of things that I've been working on for 2020, and kind of ready to have a clean slate to move into 2021. All right. We're now going to go ahead and move on to books and reading. So I have a fair number of books to talk to you guys about. I have 5, in fact. Let's go with the Audible book that I just finished up called Seventh Heaven. It's an Alice Hoffman book, and you will recognize her name if you've watched any of my other videos. I've kind of been on an Alice Hoffman kick, but this is one of her earlier ones. It's not really magical. There is sort of the hint of magic in it, but not really. It's set in a bedroom community on Long Island, New York, in 1959 and into 1960, and the story basically revolves around this one street called Hemlock Street, where all the houses look exactly the same, and it's sort of a little brief, like each section kind of carries the story of one character or a family during the school year from 1959 into 1960. So there's a lot of, I won't really say it's like longing for the past, because certainly not everybody has a happy ending in this book, and there's a lot of sort of nostalgic mentions of things post-war and into that changing time in the late 50s, early 60s. The main character who kicks the story off is this young woman who has 2 kids. One's in 3rd grade and the other's an infant, and she's getting a divorce. And she's the only person on this street who doesn't have a husband, and so she's pretty much a social pariah, as is her son. As the story evolves, there's reasons why she is sort of a social pariah, and it's not just because she's divorced, but that's certainly part of it. And it follows kind of the story of the disillusionment of many of the kids who are like late high school age and graduating to do something else with their lives. There's definitely a very strong demarcation line between the kids going to college and the kids not going to college, who would be working in the trades. I didn't like this book as much as some of her other ones. It felt very disjointed to me, and you know, honestly, there's a lot of it that is, there's a lot of unhappy people on this street. I did like the descriptors of a lot of it because, you know, my mom, she didn't grow up on Long Island, but she grew up in Queens, New York. And there's a lot of things that she's kind of mentioned about her growing up in high school years that I hear echoed in this book. So that part was fun. I think if you have not read any of Alice Hoffman's books and want to delve into something more representative of her body of work, probably look elsewhere. So mixed review on that one. I'm then going to just mention really quickly A Study in Death. This is the next book in the Lady Darby mystery series that I mentioned in my last video that I enjoyed so much. So this is the next one in the series, and it had popped up on sale in my Amazon morning book list, and so I grabbed it and read it. It was fun to read over the Thanksgiving holiday because it was quick and easy and fun, and characters that I've gotten attached to. So again, if you are interested in that historical mystery kind of genre, maybe listen to my previous video, and if it sounds like something you like, just know there are more in the series, and I enjoyed this one equally. Okay, the next three. I'll mention The Door in the Hedge. This is a group of short stories, but they're kind of longer short stories. There's only 3 in the book, but they're retellings or completely new twists on fairy tales. One of which is actually one of my favorites, which is the 12 Dancing Princesses. It's the final one in the story, or in the book. So for what it's worth, I always enjoy retellings of fairy tales. I think it's interesting to see what authors do with kind of a classic. I liked these okay, but I didn't love this book. I felt like they were maybe a little too long to be short stories, but there really wasn't enough meat in them to be a full story. So it kind of landed in a no man's land for me. And they were okay, but nothing I would stand in line for, I guess. So if you really, really love retellings of fairy tales, and you can get this one on sale as I did, you know, pick it up, see if maybe you enjoy them, but it isn't kind of one of my favorites from this year. So let's talk about the next 2 books, which are some of my favorites from this year. I finished the book, A Man Called Ove. I had not read others by this author, but he does have several others. It's not a series, they're just other books that he's written. And all of the links to these books will be found down below to take you to the Goodreads page if you would like to read more about them. Ove is in his late 50s, and he is a curmudgeon. He is a difficult personality. His wife would agree with that, and certainly his new neighbors would agree with that. He's not very trusting of people. He is the type of person who, if he could, he would yell the word whippersnapper a lot. He generally thinks people are idiots, and a lot of times they prove that to be a truth. And so Ove is not often surprised, and he's not really disappointed in people because he kind of assumes the worst in them. But the story takes him through his relationship with this new young couple and their 2 kids who have moved in. The wife is pregnant, and she meets Ove while her husband is backing into Ove's mailbox and destroying it in this little community that they live in. And so Ove does not trust them, Ove does not like them, but she sees something in him, for good or for bad, that, you know, she kind of finds him amusing. And so it's the development of their relationship. I think that there's a movie done of this book. I haven't seen it, and don't quote me on that, but I think that there is. I just enjoyed this book so much because it reminded me of so many older men that I have known, and little bits and pieces. My dad is not a curmudgeon, but there's definitely some things that he's said over the years that I could hear coming out of Ove's mouth. And what you come to realize as the book goes on is, Ove's, he's actually an okay guy. You just have to get past seeing him for all of the grumpiness and grumbling that he presents as his presentation to the world. And I like the fact that the author builds Ove's backstory so that you understand who he is and why he is the way he is. And it's definitely one that tugs on your heartstrings. So if you have a family member who maybe fits that bill, or whether it's all the time or some of the time, I think that you would enjoy this book. The characters are really nicely drawn and really fun and funny. And I think that we probably can see a little bit of somebody we know in Ove. His attachment to certain types of cars and his easy acceptance of how no one knows how to fix a car, maintain a car, drive a car, do anything with a vehicle. It is my father-in-law to a T, who was a GM engineer. So just saying, I have met portions of Ove's personality in Live and Love and Color, and there were a lot of points in the book that I laughed out loud and read something to my husband, and he was like, oh yeah, yeah. So a recommended book, just kind of its own plain fiction. It's not historical or anything like that, but well done. Okay, then finally, a book called The Starless Sea. If you've read other books by this author, whose name is Erin Morgenstern, The Night Circus is one. You probably recognize her writing style, which either I think you really like or it's very confusing. This book is certainly in that vein, but I loved it so much. I think it's going to be one of my top 3 books of 2020. My dad sent me the copy with just a little email note, a print copy, saying, let me know what you think of this. So I zoomed through it, and he and I had a lovely chat about it on Thanksgiving Day. It's kind of a book for people who like books. And it's very hard to say what the plot is exactly. There is a whole backstory and a whole other world that contains the Starless Sea. Kitty's making an appearance today. The main character is a young man who is writing his master's thesis on video games. And there's a lot of action and activity that happens in this book that focuses around kind of the choose your own adventure. Like, what would happen if this door was open? What would happen if I went through that open door? And he's kind of a shy, retiring young man in his 20s. He has some friends, but not really any close friends. And he's at school in Vermont, and he finds this book in the library kind of during term break, which appears to contain partially the story of his life. Some pages are missing, and then there's some other stories interspersed in there, and he decides to try to figure out where the book came from and how these stories got started. So that sets him off on this grand adventure where he meets 2 people, one named Dorian and one named Mirabelle, who are their own interesting personalities and are somehow connected to this secret society of books and adventure. And within this book, there are other little vignettes. There are these other tales that are kind of like fairy tales and lead you into some clues about other things that happen further along in the book. So they seem to be completely unrelated as you're reading the book, but they get referred back to as this story, Zachary's story, unfolds. And so it's a little confusing in the beginning because you're trying to figure out, well, how does the story about the pirate fit into the story at the end? And who is Mirabelle in this group of characters that you get introduced to, and who is Dorian, and are they on Zachary's side or are they not, and what is reality and what is fiction. So I absolutely love this book. It is not a book that you like read lightly, you know, kind of, oh, I'm just gonna zip through this on a weekend. It's definitely a book that you want to spend some time with and savor. If you've read other books by this author and you like her writing style, then my guess is you will love this one. If you have not read other books by her, just go slow and give this book a chance. I think it's worth the read. Like I said, I think it's going to be kind of in my top 3 for this year. And her writing is beautiful. Her word choices are lyrical, and how she tells this very slowly unfolding story. And there is a reference to folded up pieces of paper with writing on it throughout the book. How she unfolds this story and all the layers of meaning, I think are worth taking your time to get through and think about. I just really, really enjoyed this book. So again, it's called The Starless Sea, and I will put a link to it below. I've just started reading The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, or however he says his last name, Coelho. And another book, because I have a hard time just reading one, apparently, called The Yard, which is a historical mystery set in 1889 about the detectives in Scotland Yard. So far, a very good book as well for what it is, and enjoying that quite a bit. So that's going to be it for books, and let us move on, and we're going to talk cross stitch next. Okay, so last but definitely not least, cross stitch. I wanted to show you guys my finished and framed winter fairy. I got this frame, I've just lost the name of it. All About Frames, I think it's called. I'll put a link to the company below. They do custom frame, so you can order whatever size you want. They have a fairly limited stock, so they have like white, black, metallic, which this is their pewter silver, I think, in various and sundry forms that you can order the size you want specifically. But the prices are quite good, and when I saw this one, I really thought this was going to be a great match for my Joan Elliott Winter Fairy. The silver has a little bit almost of a gold like shadow to it, and I thought that would work really great because this has both silver and gold Kreinik in it. So I got this together, all stretched out and ready to go, and really happy with how this turned out. So this is on my wall now to enjoy for the winter season, and realistically it probably will be on my wall into the spring months as well, because this is the only one of this series I have finished, although I have plans for the other ones at some point. I have fall started, but this is the one that I have finished. So love how she came out and really happy with that. So let me talk about what I've worked on since I was with you all last. Not very many projects, but I have gotten quite a bit done. First up, let's talk about the day or so I spent on the Pilgrim, which is a Long Dog sampler piece, and will look like this when it's done. And I am stitching this with one thread, one silk thread of a Silks for You. This is the colorway. It's purples and periwinkle blue, kind of like single color, but it's very subtle. And I am stitching this with one strand of silk over 2 threads of linen. This is a 36 count linen from Crossed Wing Designs in the butternut colorway. And I am working on the bottom left corner, which is here, obviously. This is the middle left page, and this is the corner of the piece. So I've reached the far corner. And this time I worked on the wave border. I finished up some of the pomegranates. I think those are pomegranates, I'm not sure. And then I started on the tail of the kelpie who comes up this way, and then these two little fish. So let me see if I can bring that in so you guys can see it. I'd say that's pretty close on color. So it is a pretty subtle variegation in the thread, but I really like it on this kind of orangey, peachy, butternut colored fabric. So this will be out for a day or two in December at some point, and I'll continue working up this way. Let me show you that. So I've done this tail and these fish and the waves, and so I'll come up and work the body of the kelpie. Anxious to get to that little seahorse too. That's one of the nice things about her designs, I think, is that there's all those great little details in them that kind of as you stitch, you get to enjoy each motif as you go along. So, so this will be out once more this year, just for a day or so, I think. Nothing major on it, just working on it for like a brief interlude in between other things. All right, then I have been pretty much focused on a new start, which is Beloved by Adele Sessler, and it's started by Heaven and Earth Designs. I have loved this piece. If you're in the Full Coverage Fanatics group, one of our members is working on this as well, and she's much farther along. I think she's maybe down to about here. But it looks amazing, her version, and I just really love the artwork. I think that's, well, it's very me. So I am stitching this on a 25 count pre-grid fabric using the called for DMC. Oops, it gets stuck on my chair. So I have been working on page 1. I got quite a bit done. This is the bottom of the page, and this is the side of the page. I'm trying to kind of alternate, which you can see, the boring gray background, and then this is the start of the male elf's hair on this side. Sorry for the glare. So it's those tendrils. There's only 27 colors in this. I think I maybe have done the first 12 of those. A lot of black, a lot of dark gray. Interestingly, there's a fair amount of brown in here, which is not readily apparent from the mock-up. But that's okay. I mean, I think it looks amazing and very cool. So this is just 4,000 stitches into this page, so it's about halfway done, and it will be out again in possibly in January, definitely in March. I know I have it slated for that, and it goes, you know, fairly quickly. It's still full coverage, so it only goes but so fast, but it goes fairly quickly because you've got limited colors. So I'm not doing a full like color completion by page because there's actually more of this kind of taupey brown that fills in over here, but I'm trying to kind of work stuff in the pattern in which it falls because it seems to make the best sense there. And what I've been doing is I'll pull an entire strand of the 6-strand DMC, cut that. I'll work through all 6 single strands because I'm stitching this 1 over 1. And then when that runs out, I'll switch to another color. So there's a couple of colors on this page that you can see up here. There's a few ninja stitches that I need to go back and fill in. I didn't get to that color, but I will work on this next time I have an opportunity to. Really enjoy that. And it's kind of a nice break from like the supersize max colors where you have 200 plus colors to have 27 to work with. So I enjoyed that very much. That was kind of a nice quiet moment. So speaking of full coverage fanatics, if you are interested, please come and join us. Just a reminder that if you do want to join us, you have 3 very simple questions which you need to answer before you can be allowed into the group. And so if you have a friend who would like to join us as well, please just send them the link to the Facebook group, which I will put down below, because they need to fill out those same questions in order for us to let them into the group. We're trying to keep spammers out, or people just joining that don't have any real connection with cross stitch and full coverage. We have a whole bunch of events coming up. If you are waiting, and Jemima, I know you're probably one of them. Alma, you're probably another, actually. We've got our January event. One of the events in the group is our bingo, which was super popular when we did that this summer. I have the bingo board all set up. It's a little bit more challenging than the last one, but it's the same premise where you'll have a bingo board where you can either do prompts for things like finding something that's in one of the designs. So like, for instance, birds, finding a design that has birds in it. Some of the prompts include things like finding a designer name or the name of the design that fits a specific letter. And you can either do 5 across, 5 down, 5 diagonal, or go for a blackout where you stitch 1,000 stitches, assuming you have a prompt that will match for every single one of those squares on the bingo board. And as always, you can do penalty stitches if you would prefer. We have all of our other year-long events. So like our book themed event, we've got that set up monthly, and the very first month is going to be classics. So you can stitch for a theme, you can stitch for numbers, you can kind of go for both, which is what I'm doing. And then we also will have other monthly pop-ups like bingo throughout the year, either weekend or month-long ones. So lots of fun stuff going on over there. And so I hope you would be interested in coming and join us if you like full coverage. It's a very good group. We have a lot of members. I think we're around 4,500 members right now. And yeah, it's a busy group with lots of good visuals. And as always, I am super thankful that Kim, who is Kim Hollenbach here on YouTube, but Spartan Stitcher everywhere else, is my right hand, most days both hands person, who answers a lot of questions and comments and just generally keeps things rolling. So thank you, Kim. I am thankful for you if I don't say it often enough. And I probably don't. So let's see, let's talk plans really quick. So kicking off December, I am going to be working on a long winter's nap, which is my Haid ornament. I will have some time to work on, I know for those of you who have loved it and wish to see more of it, I've switched some things around for a semi-sane stitchers prompt. That's another Facebook group. And I will be working on Once Upon a Fairy Tale for 1,000 stitches. And then beyond that, I've got a day or so on the Pilgrim, which you guys saw this go round. And then I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I haven't decided if I want to try to stick with a Christmas themed piece because it's almost Christmas. Where has this year gone? Or if I'm going to try to tackle some more stitches on a stitching shelf and see if I can get closer to that top row finish on that piece. So we'll see. I haven't decided yet. And I will be filming my whip parade sometime later in December. So you guys kind of will have that as a separate video to watch, and I'll talk about kind of my overall plans for all of that stuff, and going forward into 2021, what I think I'm going to be working on. So I think that's going to be it for me today. I'm not sure I got it in under 45 minutes, but I tried. I hope you all are doing well. Please, please stay safe. Wash your hands, wear your mask. Don't get exposed to anything nasty. It is already flu season, so even if you're not worried about COVID, there's certainly the flu you can worry about. So all of those things are the same precautionary tidbits. So please do be careful, you and your loved ones. And I will be back again in early December to chat with you guys for a bit. Until then, everybody take care. Bye for now.